Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to another edition of Cubs on Tap. I'm your host, Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody on Tap. I'm joined tonight by but with my good friend, Joey Ricotta. You can follow him on Twitter at the Riot 326. That was my best Ron Luce impression. Ron, if you're in the stream, feel free to grade me. Joey, the Cubs win tonight, man. The Cubs won tonight. It happened.
Finally.
Holding the sign that says it happened. It's everywhere on Twitter. The Cubs won.
Dude, we can breathe.
I don't care. I don't care that we're tanking. I don't care that this team sucks. We won tonight, brother.
That's all that matters. Honestly, we had to put an end to this 12-game skid, ridiculous skid that we've been on. And man, it feels great. I don't care that we're tanking. Every game that you win at this point, from the rest of the season on, from here, it's going to feel great. I don't care. This is awesome.
Our good friend Dope Redbeard in the stream right away. He's always the first one. He says, the impossible has happened. Exactly in that form, I am assuming, because that's where that's from. It's what's that from, Joey? The impossible has happened. Wasn't that Pat Hughes or someone? Didn't someone say that?
Yeah, I feel like it is Pat Hughes. I know it's a Cubs thing, but
yeah, it's a Cubs thing. But whatever. Everyone knows. I'm just like, I'm gonna be completely frank with you, my friend. Tonight, I got my haircut, missed like the first 3 innings because of it, and then came back. And I watched Bachelor in Paradise with my girlfriend and watched the Cubs on my computer while it's on our TV. So I'm like watching both. And I'm not going to lie, for like 6 innings of it, I'm like, dude, Kyle Hendricks is not going to deserve what the Cubs are about to fucking do to him. But it just didn't happen, man. Like, you got a really nice appearance out of Rowan Wick in his 3rd appearance since coming back from the IL. Cody Hoyer giving you 2 strong innings to close it out. Adam Morgan didn't give me heartburn. I mean, we got just enough offense, even though 2 runs is 2 runs. Ian Happ hit a homer. Frank Schwindel, the legend, Cubs legend, whatever you want to call him, he stays hot. Like,
yep. Hop on the Schwinn bike. Hop on the Schwinn bike, baby. Let's go on back pegs right now. We're riding Schwindel all the way to his 6th straight game with extra base hit. So let's go.
Yeah. See, I was talking to some guys at work today, and some of them are, they're kind of like how we are. We're like, oh yeah, Cubs legend, and then other people are like, there's no way this guy's on the roster next year. And I'm like, I don't know, man. He's hitting, he's performing, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do if he wants to earn a contract next year. Not saying he should be the starting first baseman for our Chicago Cubs in 2022. But I do think, you need a nice depth piece, a guy to come off the bench, maybe play, a little first base every now and then, or I don't know if he plays any other positions, but like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like he is playing well enough to at least have the conversation. Like, you're not going to have to pay him anything. He's not like you can bring him back for essentially whatever he's doing this year, because he's not going to expect to get any major money for just being hot for 2 months. You know what I mean? And what I mean by major money for him, I mean like, anywhere between $2 and $5 million. Like, I feel like you could pay him $1 million for a season, and if he plays well for a whole year, then yeah, maybe you can up it, I guess. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but like, it's nice to see some of these guys, because this losing streak sucks, but like, I keep going back to, Madrigal, Horner, and Contreras aren't in the lineup. So if you had those guys, and then you mix in some of these other guys like Rafael Ortega, Matt Duffy, and Schwindel, and Ian Happ, if he decides to consistently put it all together, it's not a great lineup, but it's not worst team in the league lineup like everyone's been saying on Twitter, but.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just kind of, like I said, I'm spitballing. I'm rambling off. I'm not letting you talk, but
I love it, man. Yeah.
Go ahead. What are your thoughts on everything I just said? Because I feel like there's a lot to process there, and I just don't know. I think that there's some pieces here, and I don't know about you, but I don't think this rebuild is going to take 3 to 5 years. I think that the Cubs can be in the division race next year pending free agency.
Oh, I 100% agree with that last part. There's no reason why it should take so long with the assets that they have to work with coming through the pipeline. Maybe not right away ready, but the money that they have, obviously, to spend in free agency. You threw out some good names there recently that I heard, like Noah Syndergaard potentially. Jorge Soler was actually someone who I was thinking about too, and I saw you point that out.
I tweeted that this morning. Yep.
Yeah, and that was somebody who I immediately thought, because they could use a right-handed outfielder bat with if Hayward and Happ and Ortega and those guys are on the roster. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And you still have, Dykman and those guys potentially. It was good to see Hermosillo.
Yes. He got cucked because of Andrew Romine and that lasted bad. I was so mad. I was like, this guy has been raking down in Iowa, and he's an Illinois native. And I'm like, I want him to be really good because he seems like he's been really good. And I thought honestly, when he was with the Angels, I thought he was just blocked because Mike Trout, greatest player of all time, was ahead of him on the roster, and never really got a fair shot. So I feel like he could maybe find a home with the Cubs. He looks like a guy who could find a home with the Cubs. I mean, the dreads, got that he looks like he has some swag on him. Like, I'm hoping he's starting tomorrow. I swear to God, if he's not starting tomorrow in center field, I'm going to be a little mad.
Oh, he absolutely should be, especially because, like you said, he got robbed with, I forget, was it Romine trying to?
I thought it was Romine. Yeah, I thought it was Romine.
That's what I thought, but it's like, what are you doing in that situation? Like, let the kid who just got called up. I mean, he's not a kid; he's an older prospect, like 26 years old. But like you said, never really got a shot with the Angels. He got a little bit of a taste, but didn't. He kind of struggled, and maybe he's figured some things out. He's obviously played well in the minors this year. He's torn it up. I'm excited. It looked like he just got under the pitch that he flied out. It was a good pitch to swing at. It was a 2-0 count that he worked it to. It's nice to see stuff like that. And then, back to your point about Frank Schwindel, maybe he is a guy. I'll be first to say it. I was one of those guys just recently talking in a group chat with some buddies, and I was saying, I don't think he's on the roster next year. I think it's just kind of just a flash in the pan, but the more he keeps doing it, the less it becomes a flash in the pan. So, I mean, we'll see. And like you said, you don't have to pay him probably much. I mean, because he's unproven to this point, and even like this little bit of hot stretch that he's on, it's not going to be enough for teams to be like, yeah, we're going to give him a ton of money to steal him away from the Cubs. So ride it out, see what he can do the rest of the year, and then maybe bring him back. And if not as a starting first baseman, at least you got a pretty solid option there off the bench. And yeah, man, I'm with you. I think Schwindel, it's a fun story right now. And the guy that scored ahead of him was Ortega. So, I mean, those two things right there, it's just, you love to see it. I think Ortega, just a professional at bat every time he gets up there. And then Ian Happ, like you said, I mean, finally, like we've been waiting for this, like, what was it, May 21st, they said, since his last
we tweeted that out. I tweeted that out from the Cubs on Tap Twitter account. I went on Fangraphs myself and looked it up because I was curious when the last time he had a 2-hit game, let alone a 3-hit game. And May 21st, the last time he had a 3-hit game, man. Like, I've been very hard on Ian Happ all season, and even in the beginning of the year, because I just feel like he's been given every chance to be the Cubs starting center fielder, to be like, a Rizzo type guy, because he's a guy who does a lot in the community and wants to help people, and he seems like a really good person and all that stuff. He just has never been able to put it all together over a full season. We got a half season of it in 2020. He didn't play most of 2019 with the major league team because of the Almora situation, and his strikeout rate was really high in 2018, so they wanted him to get some more minor league at bats, and they call him up towards the end of 2019, basically, and he rakes. So you're going into 2020 with I don't even know about high expectations, but just some hope. And he did for, like I said, for like a month and a half. And then so because he did that, and he was honestly the Cubs like probably top 3 hitter on the team in 2020 of those 60 games, I think we all had high expectations for him coming into this season. And he's honestly just not lived up to like even a quarter of those expectations. He has not been good at all. And with the Cubs selling off everything and going in this direction of, a quick rebuild, quick retool, whatever you want to call it, like the Cubs need to see him perform, or else, I've been saying it, like I think if he doesn't perform, they should just non-tender him after the season. I know I could understand why you might not do that, but I mean, why keep a guy like that around if he's been given every chance when you could just find someone else who you probably at least get the same production, and you're not gonna you're at least the expectations wouldn't be so high, I guess. I don't know, but it's nice to see him get 3 hits tonight. I'm hoping maybe that kick starts him the rest of the year. I'm not asking for 3-hit nights every night. I'm just asking for some sort of consistency, man. Some sort of consistency. It was nice to see, the homer, he pulled it. The third hit was a knock basically right up the middle to beat the shift. And obviously the homer's not a ground ball, but I didn't see the first hit, but the third hit he got, not on the ground. I know he's been hitting a lot of ground balls. So it's like, again, we need to see something from him on a consistent basis, or, it's just kind of, it leaves Jed in a tough situation, in my opinion. Like if you legit want to be in the division race next year, like you can't justify bringing Ian Happ back if he doesn't at least show something this last month and a half that, hey, figured some stuff out, give me one more chance, but I also think he's been given every chance possible and doesn't deserve any more at the same time. Again, I understand people disagree with that, but that's just me.
Well, yeah, at some point it's like it gets hard to defend, right? I mean, like every season leading up to this year, I believe he's at an OPS plus over 100. He's been an above average OPS guy, but and he gives you that power, and he has decent speed. Not like he's not going to steal you a ton of bags, but you see why it's there, why they've given him all these opportunities, because it's in there. We saw it last season. He was like you said, one of the top 3 hitters, top 2 hitters with him and Hayward, really, which is weird because they've both been trash.
So bad this year. Yeah.
It's like, how did that happen last year? And then it's been so bad otherwise. But I mean, yeah, maybe I feel like we've been saying this all season though. Like if he can build off of this, and then he'll be good. I've been saying that like after he has like decent games earlier in the season, I was saying that, and then it just got to a point where it's like, all right, I don't know if he's going to build off of anything, but it is encouraging nonetheless. And like you said, it's going to be hard for Jed to make the decision on him. And why would you continue to give a guy like that when the depth is kind of coming there, right? Like it's coming up. And then we know that Nico Horner he's very versatile. He can play outfield. I mean, he could play center field next year if they really want to, and then be patient with Brendan Davis. And you got maybe even like Horner and playing a little left and right. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like, why would you keep giving this guy opportunities? He really has to. This is important for Ian Happ. He needs to play well down the stretch.
Right. I haven't even mentioned, he went into that arbitration battle going into this season thinking that he deserved whatever money. And I mean, I can't remember what happened, who won that battle. I'm assuming he did, or maybe the Cubs. Whatever. It doesn't matter. He was only making like $4 million this year or something. And it just doesn't look good whenever you're having a season like he is right now, man. And I don't know. I feel like I'm shitting on him, and I shouldn't, because he went 3 for 4 tonight, and we celebrate the good times.
Right.
It's just like it's frustrating as well, because it's like, man, maybe the Cubs are in it right now if Ian Happ was giving us consistent production that you expected, and the Cubs didn't sell off the 3 guys. You know what I mean? Like that's what I think about all the time. I'm like, why are the Cubs in this situation? Well, they gave Ian Happ a lot of chances. They gave Albert Almora a lot of chances, and turns out they're both pretty similar guys at this point. One has more power than the other. One plays better defense than the other, and at the end of the day, they just don't hit enough. I mean, we since Dexter Fowler, we haven't had a consistent center fielder. Maybe John Jay, if you really want to dive into it. But like that's the kind of thing. And that's why I'm frustrated, because it's like, you literally said it yourself, Joey. Like you see the talent. The Cubs see the talent in Ian Happ. And when he's not producing, it's just it makes me so mad, because you feel like he has it in him, and then just doesn't. So, but then you get nights like this, and you're like, see, he has it.
Yeah,
he has it. Well, can we get some consistency out of it? So, like, at least it gives us something to look to, like, watch, to like pay attention to over the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, but overall, tonight, for him, it was a good night. Other guys, we talked about Schwindel, we talked about Ian Happ. Let's see. I mean, as far as offense, those are really the only two guys. Ortega, he had a run and a walk that, the run obviously was one of the, was huge after the Schwindel double. Who scored the other run?
Happ.
It was Happ, because he hit the homer. What am I thinking? It's been a long fucking day.
A home run, but
yeah. I guess let's move to the pitching side a little bit, because I think that's where all the big news is, right? Like fucking Kyle Hendricks, 18th quality start of the season. And this brings me back again to just like why I'm so frustrated with just the Cubs in general, because it's like, you could argue that this is Kyle Hendricks' like best season. Outside of 2016, I think you can argue it, because like, as the bona fide ace of the staff, as the number one starter, the guy that everyone is looking at to try to like get off that that big stage, I guess you want to call it. I can't think of a better word than that at the moment, but like with expectations and everything, because in 16, I don't think anyone had ERA title expectations for Kyle Hendricks. No. So in this season, after a really good 2020, he kept it going. Outside of April, he's been really good all season. Had a really bad start in his last start, but bounced back tonight. Goes into a Great American Ballpark where he has historically not been good, and gives you 6 quality innings. I mean,
yeah,
I can't say anything else about the guy, man. It pains me that he's having like his best career season in a year where the Cubs are selling, and is what it is.
It makes you wonder though, also, like, where the Cubs would be this season without Kyle Hendricks, because you said it. He's consistently every year he's really good, and this could be one of his best years if we eliminate some of the real clunkers that he had, like against the Braves and like his last time out. And yeah, he's given up some solo home runs in some games, but I mean, like, he's the major league leader in wins right now. Yeah. And I know wins don't mean much anymore, and people don't care about wins, and I'm not one that like overly cares about wins. But like, going into his last start, I wrote it down. He was 11-0 with 13 quality starts in his last 15 starts before his last start. And like tonight, he 76.8 average exit velocity, his lowest of the season. So that's just how good he was. Took a no-hitter into the 5th, obviously. That little Tyler Naquin, bleeder. I mean, guy was good, man. He's just been rock solid all season. He's an ace. Like, I don't want to hear what anybody has to say. Not what you don't have to say, but people not calling him an ace, they're just ridiculous. He's an ace.
I agree. I completely agree. And maybe it's a stretch to say that this is his best year as a Cub or a professional. I don't know. Like, maybe, like, obviously you look at the ERA and it's not the same as 2016. He had like he led the league in ERA. It was like what, a 2.16 or something like that in 16. And he's got an ERA, around 3.5 this year, whatever. But again, I just like, with the expectations that he has now, it's like a lot different than then. And he kind of just shocked everyone then. Like, everyone knows every 5th day when he's going on the mound, like, this guy throws 87 and somehow we still can't hit him. Like,
right.
That's, and in today's age where everyone is throwing 98 and up, that's impressive, man. I mean, Greg Maddux has to be sitting at home and just like mesmerized. He has to
Oh
be the
man.
most impressed by Kyle Hendricks out of like any baseball player who's like, retired or whatever. He has to be.
Oh, he loves this. He loves this. Like the art of pitching it gets lost in today's game, I think, because it's just like you said, like people are just trying to overpower you. They're throwing gas, they're throwing power sliders. Everyone knows what Kyle Hendricks throws at this point, and it's not a lot of speed, and it's just pinpoint accuracy. And they can't read it. I was watching something about like just really someone broke down his motion and just the way that he hides the ball and delivers it, and everything is synced up together. And just to the overlay of his pitches, everything looks identical, and he just pinpoint like masterful. I mean, he's just such a good pitcher, man. Just knows how to pitch.
Yeah, it's a damn shame he's never been an all-star, man. It's a damn shame. Damn shame. But a lot of that has to go towards the fact that he just never has a good April, and that's, I will say that his April this year was not good, but since May 1st, I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure they're really good since May 1st, man. So, so, he gives you 6 strong, walked 3, struck out 3. And then, like I said, Ron Wick came in. He didn't get a full inning, but he gave you a 2 1/3, gave up 2 hits, but he got 2 really key strikeouts that honestly you could say won the Cubs the game. I want to say he struck out one of the guys that's in the running for Rookie of the Year. What's his name? You know his name, don't you?
Jonathan India, yeah.
Jonathan India, yeah. He struck him out. And that guy's been hitting, man. He's batting 280, has an OPS of 864. Like, he's a solid player. He struck him out with the bases loaded, I'm pretty sure. And then David Ross came and got Ron Wick. Wick was pretty pissed off that Ross took him out.
Yeah, he didn't want to come out of that game for sure.
I kind of like wanted him to leave him in too, because it's like, again, at that time, I was just like, I don't care. Like, let Wick get out of the inning. I want to see him do it because it's only his 3rd appearance, right? But he brings Adam Morgan in, and I think he faced Votto, right?
Yeah, it was Votto. They had a shift on him, and it worked in the Cubs' favor. It was a ground ball. He didn't hit it that bad. It was right up the middle, but they just shifted kind of. It was like a backhand. I think the shortstop was playing on the right side a little bit, and kind of like backhand. Got out of it, but yeah, I was with you too. I kind of wanted Wick to stay in there, but it worked out. So
yeah. So again, doesn't happen often, but Adam Morgan didn't give me pain tonight, even though for the season he has a 3 ERA, but for some reason I feel like he's always in the game and giving up runs. I don't know. It's kind of like what it was with Dan Winkler, except Dan Winkler really was giving up runs all the time. At least that's just how I feel about it. I don't know. What else? And then Cody Hoyer. I think he was this is the guy who came over in the Kimbrel trade, and I don't know what your thoughts on that trade was, Joey, but I thought it was mixed reviews from Cubs and Sox fans. I thought the Cubs did pretty well in that trade. If there's one thing I could criticize, is I thought maybe they could have got one more guy. I don't know if it would have been a major league guy or if it would have been, just a throw in minor leaguer. But maybe I thought that just because Madrigal is not playing the rest of the year. I don't know. At least this was at the time. I've started to warm up to it a little bit more. I never thought it was I never thought the Cubs got fleeced or thought it was a bad trade. I just didn't know a lot about Cody Hoyer, and tonight pitches 2 innings to end the game, the two inning save. Got a hard out against Castellanos. I think there was a hard out there at the end of the game in the 9th inning too that he gave up, but he had a couple strikeouts. I think he had 2 or 3, and he had 2 strikeouts. Just nasty stuff whenever he got those. I think he has a lot to offer with the Cubs for the next 4 or 5 years, however long they have him. He's got electric stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, a lot of people are saying that they thought the Cubs got fleeced and stuff. I never looked at it that way, just because Madrigal was the pace that he was on when he was playing. It was, you could say what you want about the power and stuff, but he's going to probably hit over 300. and he's going to be a quality player. And he got control over him for years. Hoyer, man, he looked really good. I mean, he's looked good since coming to the Cubs. I mean, really.
Outside of a few appearances, I know there's a few late innings where he's given up homers and it's led to Cubs losses. But I mean, you look at the age, you look at the stuff, and you're like, this guy should be in the back end of your bullpen for the next 4 or 5 years. I remember a couple weeks ago, I compared him to like maybe the next Pedro Strop at the very least. Just, a consistent arm in the bullpen for, a significant amount of time that you can rely on. I don't know if they think he could be a closer. A lot of people think, maybe he should be the closer just because of who they traded him for. But I don't know. I just, like I said, I don't know a ton about him when he came over from the Sox. But I do know that they were high on him, and the Sox have done a lot of, the young arms they brought up. They all throw hard and they all got wicked, stuff. He's one of those guys. I can't, it's too early for me to really figure out what his role with the team is next year. But anything he does for the Cubs this year is at least a nice little, I don't know, just like a nice preview of what's to come next year. It's just nice to see some of these guys in the back end of the bullpen get shots to pitch like in actual meaning, like in a meaningful moment. Like, you know what I mean? Like Cubs have lost 12 in a row. More than half of those games, they're getting like routed by 10 runs. And so they're coming in just to get work. They're not even coming in high leverage spots. I actually had a high leverage spot tonight, and Cody Hoyer got it done. I got to give him credit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like you said, we haven't been able to see that. I mean, you can't, it's impossible to see that when your team's losing. And it's good to see him finally get that opportunity. And I mean, 2 innings, 17 pitches, 14 strikes, no hits, no walks, 2 Ks.
Yeah.
Like that's high leverage. That's a high leverage quality outing, like very quality. I mean, for a save too. I mean, whether he's going to be the future closer or not, I think he's definitely showing that he can be a high leverage arm in the pen. And like you comped him to like a Pedro Strop type. Hey, we'll take that. That's one of the best all-time relievers in Cubs history. So I'll definitely take that.
For sure. No, I agree. I'm looking at some of these comments. Peter Zyka says, bring up Ben Leeper as our closer. I know who Ben Leeper is. I don't know if the Cubs have aspirations for him as to be the closer, but I suspect him to maybe get called up in September, maybe, and then we'll just see what he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you bring him up. I think he should get called up at some point, but why would you just throw him right into the closer role? Let him, right. I'm with him. Yeah, he should probably get called up, but not closer right away. I don't think.
Yeah, not right away. I know they tried that with Manny Rodriguez, and that didn't exactly work out that well right away either. But I still have high optimism for him. So,
got great stuff. That's a great example there.
Yeah, Dope Redbeard. He says Wick, I think, is the closer going into next year, and that's a reasonable take. I think I think Cubs fans would feel comfortable with that because we've seen him in that position before. I think you get Rowan Wick, you get Brad Wick back, who was really solid before the heart problem. Then you got Cody Hoyer. Maybe Manny Rodriguez is in the mix there, depending on what we get out of Ben Leeper. And then also, I mean, the Cubs can go sign 1 or 2, random guys who maybe. I say random guys because they've done so well at just going out and finding people who are unheard of to pitch in the bullpen. Like Rowan Wick is one of those guys. You know what I mean? So I think the bullpen is one thing that we as Cubs fans really don't have to worry about going into 2022. I think that part is fine, especially with what they got going on the farm. And if they go and get like I know they're stretching out Keegan Thompson, and obviously Justin Steele's being stretched out, and I really don't know what their roles next year are going to be. I'm assuming right now that they're going to be starters, but if they sign, some proven starters in free agency, maybe the Cubs are thinking more so that they like Steele or Thompson as a guy in their back end of their bullpen as well. And they've proven that they could do that too. So as much as I like watching Steele be a starter so far, and, you know, I'm probably going to feel the same about Thompson, I still think we have to leave that option out there just because we just haven't reached free agency yet.
Agreed. Yeah. You don't know what they're going to do as far as who they're going to go after. But I mean, you know, there's one guy that we just traded that could be a possibility with, you could use a lefty, I think, next year. Yeah, we got Brad Wick, but your boy, Andrew Chafin.
Yeah. I mean, how's he been doing in Oakland? I haven't really paid attention.
You know, I haven't paid too much attention. I know it was rough, I think, to start, so I'm not quite sure how he's been lately, though. But they were.
The A's got rocked tonight by the White Sox, so I really don't know if he got into the game. But
I don't know. Yeah,
I wish Greg Deichmann would hit, because then at least I could feel happy about that trade. But it is what it is. You can't expect to get too much for a guy like him. But
right.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy, you know, the Cubs were able to, you know, squeak out a W tonight and just like give some of these guys what just some experience and what it's like to actually be in high leverage spots and be in position to win. And I don't know about you, and maybe I'm just like, you know, I do this to myself all the time too, because I'm just a stupid fan. And I'm like, all right, the Cubs,
you can't be a stupid fan. There were so many stupid fans that I was talking to on Twitter tonight. So you can't be a stupid fan.
Let me get your take on this real quick, and then we can talk about the stupid people slandering Chris Bryant. What I'm thinking is, okay, they called up Hermosillo. I don't know if they're going to bring Contreras back for like September or beyond. In my opinion, maybe shutting him down for the rest of the season is a good idea. I don't know. But I would like to see Horner come back, just, you know, get some bats. But when you get those guys back, whoever they are, and then, like I said, they added Hermosillo. I don't think he's going to just completely change the lineup or anything. But I feel like adding in some of these guys, and then if they call up, I don't know, a pitcher or whatever, obviously Thompson's going to become a starter. I would like to see this team end the season on a high note, like an optimistic note. I'm not asking them to go win. Dude, I'm not asking them to go have a 19-8 month like they did in May. I'm just asking, honestly, I'm asking for a 500 month in September. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know, according to Twitter, that's just not possible. But I feel like it is possible, given if anyone who has watched these players play. If Ian Happ plays like he did tonight, at least a little bit more consistently, the Cubs will win more games. He just has not been good all season. He's hitting 186. But if this night kind of somewhat propels him into a trend upward, like that will help the Cubs win more games. Again, I know the Cubs should tank and they should just lose as many games as possible. But if they're going to lose, I would at least like them to lose looking good. Like they have literally given up double-digit runs in like every game in that 12-game losing streak. Almost all of them, it felt like. You know, like if you're going to lose, at least lose in a fun way. Like that's how 2012, 2013, 2014 season was fun to watch, at least because you had guys to watch. Most of the games were, you know, you always felt like the Cubs were in it and they would at least tease you for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I need the team to give me some sort of an optimistic look going into 2022 pre-free agency. I don't know how you feel about that. Do you feel like that's possible?
It is possible. It's you know, people are going to say whatever they're going to say, and they just look at the roster and they see there's no real big names in it that they're used to. So they're going to say, well, this team should lose every game. That's just not how baseball works, number one. And number two, I mean, you have like the guys that can produce, like you said, like Ian Happ, those guys that could potentially play better and play up to their level, really, and that can help them win. And I want to see these guys, like you said, I want to see some of these guys, some positives going into next year, guys that could be part of the future, and play well, even if they're going to lose. I don't want to just see losing. I want to see like what strides are some of these guys making, and potentially, you know, we mentioned Steele, we mentioned Thompson, guys like that. Like, I want to see those guys play well, and if we still lose, fine. But like some of these other guys aren't going to be on the team next year, like Trevor McGill and like whoever the heck else, like some of these other bullpen arms that just like whenever they come in the game, Rex Brothers, like you're just like turn off the TV, like they're not going to be here next year, hopefully. So I mean, I can say that pretty confidently, and we just want to see like with these younger guys, and there's some pieces here to work with,
Yeah.
They can win. They can win with some of these guys.
Yeah. Again, it's just more of me trying to find an optimistic outlook. I know it doesn't make any sense, and I know it sounds really fucking stupid, especially if you like think this team is going to take 5 years to rebuild. And if you do, then I think you're stupid, because it's not going to take 5 years to rebuild this franchise. But another thing is just like, it just doesn't create a positive culture in the clubhouse or the franchise or anything. It honestly, like if they just keep losing like they did in that 12-game losing streak where you're giving up 14 runs or 12 runs or 10 runs or whatever, like it's not creating a positive culture. You don't have any of that culture that you had the last 7 years. And I always thought that was the one thing that the Cubs had this year, is like, at least the culture's good. At least David Ross is getting these guys up to play every day. At least it seemed like it. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm asking the Cubs to suck, but not suck so bad to where it's completely unwatchable. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Because I mean, if you think about it, let's get a nice draft pick next year, but let's actually look good doing it, I think.
Right.
Like, be bad so that we can be better later, but we want some of these guys to be good and make it watchable. Don't look like a minor league team. Just look somewhat like, don't look like my rec baseball league out there on Sundays playing. Like, please, let's do something.
Scott from Iowa was like, Cody, like a 12-game losing streak. Yeah, like a 12-game. Like, don't look like you're a 12-game losing streak. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, dude. The 11-gamer earlier in the year fucking sucked. At least there was still somewhat of like hope of playoffs then before it happened. And then, this one, it doesn't, like, no one really gives two fucks. It's become like the Cubs have just become a pun or a joke made on Twitter these days. And it makes me so sad, because it's just like how the mighty have fallen. You know what I mean? Yeah. But
it's every other podcast's like favorite topic too. If you like tune into any like fantasy baseball podcasts or anything, like, the Cubs aren't going to be good till 2025. It's like, you know what? Just please shut your mouth. You don't follow the Cubs. Like, just whatever.
Yeah, that's so infuriating. I don't.
Pisses me off too.
Since we're now pissed off, do you want to talk about the Chris Bryant slander on Twitter today before we get out of here?
Yes, I would. Dude, okay. So that's why I said before this, I couldn't be on with a better person, because I know you're always talking on Twitter about the Chris Bryant slander and stuff. And I've obviously tuned in a bunch of times to this, and we've talked or whatever. But so I put out a tweet that said basically along the lines of, if Chris Bryant is not one of your favorite Cubs, then I doubt that you're a Cubs fan. One of your favorite Cubs of all time, then I doubt that you're a Cubs fan. And I didn't mean it to be like, so I just want to clarify this, because like people were coming at me left and right, like I was trying to be some sort of gatekeeper, or like I was trying to tell people how to be a fan, when I've literally
Twitter, brother.
Dude, it was, oh my God. It kind of blew up a little bit, the tweet itself, but like there were some people just like really pissed off about it. And I'm like, listen, I'm not telling you how to be a fan. Like a few months ago, I literally put out a tweet that said, don't let anyone tell you how to be a fan. Like, everybody fans their own way. I was just saying, basically what I meant by it was, I don't understand how he's not one of your favorite Cubs after all he's done for the Cubs, and in a Cub uniform. He is one of the best Cubs of all time by the numbers and by what he's accomplished. Like, it makes no sense. And some people were saying, like, yeah, Twitter is free. Yeah.
Scott from Iowa sliding in saying Twitter is free. I mean, that's just,
thank God.
I feel like you should just leave it up, and then there were entire conversation here. But just to rebuttal what you're saying here, I guess. All right, it's not a rebuttal, but just to like add my 2 cents. I had a tweet I think it was before the trade deadline. It was like a week or a week and a half before the trade deadline. And I said that Chris Bryant is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest pillars of the Cubs franchise, and no one appreciates it. And and people were like, well, what about Ernie Banks? He hit 500 homers, and Billy Williams is a Hall of Famer. It's like, well, yeah, Chris Bryant's playing right now, and maybe he doesn't make the Hall of Fame. If Yadier fucking Molina gets in the Hall of Fame, Chris Bryant deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, if you ask me. That's just, maybe that's biased. Maybe I'm just a fucking idiot. I don't fucking know. But I think if Chris Bryant plays like he's playing this last 6-7 years for the next 6-7 years or even more, however long it is, if he plays like that for an entire career, I feel like if he's not a first ballot, he's going to be in there one day. He's not going to hit 500 homers, but he's been very, very good for a really long fucking time. And when I say that he's one of the biggest pillars in the Cubs franchise, I mean, he was the MVP the season they won the World Series after a 108-year drought. He has been out when he is healthy. And let me cue it again. When he is healthy, he is far and away the Cubs' best player. When he was on the team, he was far and away the Cubs' best player. And so many people bring up the whole Scott Boras thing. People think that he's still salty about the service time manipulation, when if he was, he would have made a bigger deal about it. All he did was just do the players a freaking service by going and fighting it for the players, not for him. And if the Cubs didn't do what they did, Chris Bryant wouldn't have been on the team this year. And then the Cubs would have been forced to trade him in the offseason of 2020 when he just come off 30 bad games in which his value was just like completely ruined. And they probably would, because of that, maybe the Cubs would have traded him earlier. And they don't, and I don't know if they get as good a package as they do this year if they did, and if they would have done it in after the 2019 season. And then why would you trade him you couldn't trade him after the 2018 season because he was hurt. He missed 60 games in 2018, so his value isn't great there either. Mm-hmm. The big thing if what he says is true about not getting a contract extension offer after the 2017 season or whatever, like if that was the only one and then he never heard anything again, that's on the Cubs front office. That's not on anyone else. That like it's that. And then I also I kind of am with Jed Hoyer on what he said on ESPN 1000 like a week after the stuff after the trade deadline, where he said, we went to the table, we tried to give him an offer, but they just seemed like they didn't want to discuss anything. And I give Jed somewhat, like I take a little bit of salt with it, because why would he say all that considering all the bad PR the franchise is taking and all of the slander that he is taking now? I mean, people are writing "fuck Jed Hoyer" on fucking windshield cards outside freaking Wrigley Field, man. Like he knows that he is under fire for a ton of shit. Why would he go on radio, public radio, to say all that shit and not expect to get like backlash for it? Again, I'm sure some of it might have been a little bit overblown, and some of the stuff that Chris Bryant said probably has been a little bit overblown or taken out of context at some point. But at the end of the day, like, this just comes back to the Cubs front office just not getting it done. And people saying that Chris Bryant wants a $300 million contract. He's never said that he wanted a $300 million contract. He deserved one after 2016. I guess I'll say that much. And then if the Cubs would have done it, people will be talking about how they overpaid for him. I mean, there's no win-win with any of this kind of shit when it comes to fucking fans just always bitching. That's just what it is.
It's the truth.
And it all comes down to me. It's just going to come down to, when I look at Chris Bryant, that guy is a 5-tool guy, one of the most underrated base runners, gives you a good at bat every time. He's always going to hit you 25 to 30 homers a year if healthy, and be an impact bat in your lineup, doing whatever. I mean, the Giants have lost 3 games since they got him. The Cubs have literally won 5 games since I moved in this current apartment that I'm in. And I moved into this apartment a week before the trade deadline.
That's sad.
They have won 5 games.
That's sad.
5 games. So there's my that's what I have to say to the Chris Bryant sucks crowd, man.
Yeah, I mean, and to follow your point, I mean, because I 100% agree with you for the like a little bit of the Hoyer stuff. It ticked me off a little bit because I just felt like it was unnecessary. His comments at the time, because I felt like there's a line there where you're almost like villainizing these players, and I didn't like that part of it because I felt like, and I don't think it was his intention, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, who can blame him? Like you said, he's taking a bunch of crap. So it's like he's in a tough spot, and they're bad mouthing the crap out of him right now, and Ricketts.
I mean, he's not Theo Epstein. Like, that's the thing. Like, we were spoiled with Theo Epstein. Theo always said the right thing. Mm-hmm. Jed is not Theo Epstein.
And that's the reason why I give him some slack too, because he's allowed a chance to build it on his own, I think. I want to give him the opportunity as a fan and somebody who, follows closely like we do. Give him the opportunity to see what he can do and how he can build this thing. And it to me, he's made good moves with what he's decided to do. That's the direction he took. Okay. And the moves he's made, I've look at the guys that got back in the Bryant deal, right? Canario's tearing it up. What did he hit? Like homers, and was it like 4 straight games or something like that?
3 or 4 straight games he hit a homer.
Killian looks good.
Yeah, Killian looks good in Double-A. Yeah. No,
so,
I think all the trades so far, like at least for the 3 core guys, the Cubs look very good. I don't know what Pete Crow Armstrong is doing because he's like 19, so he's in like rookie ball right now. But 2020 first round pick,
now, right? Is he still out right now? I think.
I honestly have no idea, but I mean, at the end of the day, the Cubs made the right move. Like, they weren't in contention. They had to get something for these guys if they couldn't figure out a way to extend them. It is what it is.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but back to the Bryant thing real fast. I think a lot of people are so pissed off at him. There was, like you said, the narrative about Scott Boras. There's people that are saying, oh, if he had a hangnail, he's going to sit out. Injuries happen in the game. That's just ridiculous. The guy he wanted to play. Come on. What name a baseball player, especially somebody like Bryant, who's always been open with the media. He's always friendly, says the right thing. I don't think he's somebody who doesn't want to play. And you have someone like Boras as his agent, fine. But can we please put that narrative to bed that he wanted way too much money? We don't even know exactly, because we're not in the room. And he himself just said, when asked about an extension with the Giants, he said, I run the show, basically.
Yeah.
So there you go. He's telling people, the Giants, that he's so happy to be there, and all this, and of course they're winning. They're in first place. He's on a good team. He's playing well. He just hit 2 home runs the other night. What else is he going to say? And he's telling them the same thing, that he runs the show. So why don't Cubs fans and anybody in the Cubs universe understand that maybe we just had the narrative wrong? Maybe we just judged this guy a little bit too much. Maybe all along we were looking at it through a different lens than what really was going on.
Yeah. I think a lot of it you can blame on the Chicago media as well. I mean, I don't.
All we heard about.
I don't like to slander some of the guys in the Chicago media because I've gotten to know them on Twitter and I've talked to them myself. But the more and more you talk, you can't tell me that those guys don't listen to that shit, man. So they have to have their discussion points and players have to do what they got to do. But same time, man, it just gets old. So,
and it was national guys too. The local guys beat the dead horse on it because they're talking about it, every freaking day almost. It felt like.
Right.
But the national guys, every time the Cubs are playing on national TV, what are they talking about? It's
yep.
At some point, it just gets to be these players are probably sick of hearing it because they get done with the game, a nationally televised game, or even leading up to that. They're getting asked by all these national reporters and national broadcasters, and how do you think that feels for them? And they're trying to prepare for baseball games,
Right, exactly. I completely agree, man. I think we're ending this podcast. We're going to preview tomorrow's game real quick, but we're ending the podcast with a nice rant about Cubs fans and Chicago media. I love it. I absolutely love it. See, I really love to hate the St. Louis Cardinals, and I guess I've really started to really hate the Milwaukee Brewers. But for some reason this year, I have really hated Cubs fans, like the own fan base that I'm a part of, because so many just don't fucking get it, man. So many just don't fucking get it. And honestly, it like literally it like on their foreheads. The ones who don't get it, it's like painted on their foreheads that they haven't been a fan of this team for any time before 2015. Like it's they scream bandwagon so fucking bad, and it makes me so mad because this fan base, growing up, going through some of the toughest years as a fan and just being happy to make the playoffs. Dude, I didn't take that shit for granted, these last 7 years of just, being in the playoff chase. You know what I mean? So
I'll end that with that. Too. One more thing before I forget about it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I'm about to forget about it as I'm talking. What the heck was I going to say? We were talking about Chris Bryant and all that, but I think it goes to show you too. It's either you're just a bandwagon fan you started from 2015, which maybe you're a true fan now. I mean, I'm not going to say like sit here and, like I said, tell you guys how to fan whoever's out there, but you can be a fan from there on out, but you weren't struggling through it maybe. But there's guys that are older that are saying Chris Bryant isn't one of their favorite players. They don't care about Chris Bryant. He sucks. That are like 50 years old too, that they're just like, it's like you can't love the legends and love Chris Bryant. Like you said, I mean, I care about, I think Ernie Banks is the best Cubs player of all time. Like, historically speaking, like I think he just had put up the best numbers. He was Mr. Cub. Like if I had a Mount Rushmore, I'd probably put Ernie Banks number one. It doesn't mean that you can't love Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, these guys too. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know.
Right. Well, that tweet that I sent, it wasn't aiming to like put down any of those guys, but that's how Twitter perceived it. And so I got freaking ratioed by a bunch of old folks on Twitter saying, boy, we can tell how young you are. And it was actually kind of a compliment because I just turned 30 this year, so I appreciated it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I could sit here and talk about Chris Bryant for a whole nother hour, man. So I'm just going to pass.
Yeah, I apologize for going back to that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I knew you wanted to talk about it, so we could talk about it. Let's move to tomorrow's game in Cincinnati. The Cubs go for their second W in a row. Oh, boy. Tomorrow, they got a day game tomorrow at 12:35 Eastern, so it would be, what would it be? 11:35 Central. So tomorrow morning, if you're listening to this, if you're in the stream, you get up early for a game tomorrow. But the Cubs and the Reds, they got an early day game tomorrow. The Cubs, Adrian Sampson, right-handed pitcher. I guess he got called up or something. I have no idea who he is, but he is pitching for the Cubs tomorrow against Tyler Mahle, who's 10-3 with a 3.58 ERA, 155 strikeouts on the year. Honestly, having a really solid season. And I've honestly kind of liked him a lot since he came up originally with the Reds. Yeah, man, I don't know anything about Adrian Sampson except for the fact that he used to pitch for the Mariners, because on MLB.com, the picture they have for him, he's wearing a Mariners jersey.
I think he pitched for the Rangers too. Did he get called up like in the middle of the game and nobody was aware of it? I didn't even know when he got called up. So it's like
they didn't even have it in like when the Hermosillo got called up today, like no one, like Sampson wasn't even involved in those those moves or anything. I have no idea how this happened.
It's just weird. Like all of a sudden, I just saw tweets that said he's starting tomorrow. Like,
yeah, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I know nothing about him, but maybe I'll fall in love with him if he gives me 5 strong tomorrow.
Let's just do that. That'd be perfect. I mean, he was, but for what it's worth, I saw something that there was another guy that's like he's like a prospect dude on Twitter. He put out that he believed, unless something changed, that Sampson was one of the only guys that had completed 7 innings in the farm system this year. So,
wow. Okay.
I think that's honestly why he got called up, just to give him some length, to just eat innings.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Was that Greg Huss? Was that Greg Huss that you saw tweet that?
it wasn't Greg that I saw. It was who's that guy? Ball Squawk or whatever. I don't know if you've seen him on Twitter.
That name sounds familiar, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know who. I don't know.
There's
who
so many like Cubs prospect guys on Twitter, man. They're all
Yeah.
looking for clout. Anyway, well, hopefully he comes up and eats some innings tomorrow. I mean, the Reds offense didn't get anything going tonight. Maybe they stay cold tomorrow because it's not like they're getting a full 24 hours before the next game. But yeah, man, you gotta fly the W player for me before we head out of here.
I didn't check any BVP, batter versus pitcher stats, but I'll just kind of go with who I think is going to be playing tomorrow. And I mean, you can't really go wrong with Ortega, but I'll save that. I'm going to go with Michael Hermosillo. I think he starts tomorrow. And I apologize if I took your dude, but I think I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking. I hope he does something tomorrow. So
yeah, no, you did take my guy because that's who I wanted to take. But that's okay.
You can have him if you want. I'll pick
no. You can have him. Because I'll take Patrick Wisdom. I've been a big Patrick Wisdom guy. He's batting 400 against Tyler Mahle. Only 5 at bats, but he's batting 400 against him. So that means he's like 2 for 4 or 3 for 5 or something. I don't know. It wouldn't be 2 for 4. That's 500. I would assume that's like 2 for 5. I think. I don't know. I'm really bad at math, guys. Anyway, yeah, I think he's due. I think Patrick Wisdom's had a really nice, season with the Cubs. I think his biggest issue is definitely the strikeouts, but for the role that he is in, I can't complain too much. Hopefully in the offseason he can adjust a little bit, and I think he's got a spot in the Cubs roster next year. So yeah, and I like him defensively too. No one talks about his defense at third. I think he's solid over there. He's not bad at first either. So yeah. All right. Well, I did not expect us to do this for an hour, but whenever we sit here and rant about Chris Bryant sucks crowd, I guess that's what happens.
My apologies. I can go a little bit. I forget when I'm at.
That's okay. That's okay. It was also nice to talk about a W tonight, my friend. And it was 12 whole episodes, at least, I'm assuming. Or maybe not 12 whole episodes, but it was at least a long freaking time since the last time we talked about a win on this podcast. So it's nice. I
would like to say, though, too, before you sign us off here, we are 3-0 when I appear on the podcast.
Oh, man, you have to come back on tomorrow, brother.
That's what I'm saying. I actually can't tomorrow.
Fly the L tomorrow, then, I guess. That's all right.
It's all my fault.
Anyway, it's all good, man. It's all good. It was good to do the show with you tonight. But before we get out of here, I'm going to remind everyone that Cubs on Tap is brought to you by OnTapSportsNet.com. Head on over and get all your Chicago sports needs. Get all your Chicago sports needs. Find the rest of the On Tap Sportsnet crew from the Bears, White Sox, Blackhawks, Bulls, and did I miss anyone? I mean, Cubs as well, because obviously us. But yeah, Ron does so much better at this than me. It's so true. But anyway, he hasn't memorized in his head. But anyway, go follow On Tap Sportsnet on social media, wherever you're at. We are there. And follow all your favorite personalities and writers and stuff, because we got a lot of good stuff going on over here. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody on Tap and Joey at the Riot 326. All right, Joey, let's get out of here the only way you know how, man. Let's go Cubs.
Let's go Cubs.